Hi everyone, thanks for watching. In this session, we're going to talk to Sarah from Northcoders around an event that we had last week, where we presented to a bunch of graduates from their recent engineering cohort. Sarah's going to talk to us about Northcoders and their training program, and we're also going to give you some advice on people who are looking to get into the cloud industry, where to get training, certifications, even free certifications, the type of events that you should be looking out for, and how to stay in touch with the right companies. So yes, so thanks very much, and thanks to Sarah for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me along to this session today, and thanks to you both attending our graduate showcase last week, which was a fantastic event. So just a quick brief introduction to myself. Yes, so my name's Sarah Byrne. I'm the HR director here at Northcoders, and I've been here just over 2.5 years now. And I have the pleasure, I guess, of hosting, facilitating, and organising our graduate showcase that you guys come along to.
Thanks very much. Adam?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Adam. I'm a cloud engineer here at LANet. Been here just over 4 years. I do sort of all things Azure infrastructure and DevOps, infrastructure as code deployments, platform engineering, and sort of design work alongside that. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks very much. I'm not sure what's happening with your video, Adam, but it's something funny's going on there, but it's all right. We know where you are. Yeah, so I'm the founder of LANet, and we're just going to talk a little bit, as I mentioned, about the event last week, and also provide some tips for anyone looking to get into the industry. So thanks very much. Let's take a look at the day we spent last week. So Sarah, I'll let you talk about these slides. Might be useful for just talk a little bit about the event and also give us an overview of Northcoders as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I guess a little brief introduction about Northcoders. So we are a tech education provider, and we really support, I guess, career changers who are passionate about tech and want to get into the tech industry. So what we provide is intense courses to help them people find their way into their dream role. Our courses a variety from kind of Python, JavaScript, machine learning to AI. But not only do we provide, I guess, the technical skills that people need for employment, but we also provide real life skills also, such as agile and collaboration engineering through project work. As part of our course, we look to, at the end of every course, provides a careers week where we support all our students in developing, I guess, their employability skills from CV writing to interview skills, to eventually meeting some successful businesses or up-and-coming businesses, and give them the chance to network and engage with these businesses. It gives the students an opportunity, which we're talking about here, the graduate showcase, to really showcase the skills that they've learned during our bootcamp. So they'll have a key project to work on, and they will share that with the businesses that come in to support the day. And then there's also an opportunity for our students to network with the businesses direct. It's a fantastic event, which we've run for some years now. And it just grows stronger and stronger every time we do it, pulling in different businesses from the tech industry, as I say, well established or new businesses. And it's for us, as I say, it's two ways. It's really opportunity for our students to engage with the businesses, but also businesses to really step in and be that that support, as you talked about earlier, and really guiding our students. So it's not just coming from us as the Northcoders tech provider. We really lean into businesses to give them kinds of real life examples of how they can progress in the start of their journey. So that's the aim of our graduate showcase. But yeah, it's been very successful, and we do have a great success rate following on from our graduate showcase, obviously in employability. So yeah, it's something that we want to continue doing, and just really, really grateful for any businesses that want to get involved, especially yourselves. You did a fantastic presentation to the group.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. I think you've been going for 10 years as well now, right?
Yeah, I've personally been here at the business for just under 2.5 years. And yeah, we, grew from a very, very small company, and just naturally grew with the demand that came along for our courses. As I say, a variety of courses, and really what we're about is, giving opportunities for anyone from all walks of life to get into the tech industry. We have a diverse amount of talent, both from students and both from businesses. So we do believe we can find the perfect match, when we're looking to place people into businesses. And that's what we do. We provide for the students, we provide the education. But for businesses, what we try to do, or our aim is to really connect businesses with students or graduates that are suitable for their businesses, and their vacancies.
Brilliant. And yeah, really, thanks so much for having us last week. And I can see a little slide there of us presenting along with another partner as well. It was a really good opportunity to meet the team and meet the graduates as well. We've got some lots of interest and really good presentations at the end to show what work they've done as well. And we really enjoyed it. We like sharing information, so we were talking about some of the courses and certifications that they should look at, and that's why we thought, let's do this video so we can provide a bit more detail, go into a bit more detail on those certifications, and also a little bit more info on what we do, just so those guys, if nobody else watches it, those guys can watch this back and get a little bit more to the next level of information, and also it might be useful for someone else, so hopefully it is. And yeah, so with that, let's move on to the slides that we did, and we've added a few more for those that you were there on the day. There's a lot more information in this one, so we'll take a look at those slides next with Adam. So let me do that.
Okay, so just a little bit on who we are at LANet first. So yeah, we're LANet. We design, operate, and secure Azure platforms for organizations where sort of reliability is a focus, as well as compliance, sort of industry regulations, things like ISO or Cyber Essentials, those kind of things. Our focus is on Azure, mainly Azure infrastructure and platform engineering. We offer cloud migration and modernization services, managed services for our customers, so ongoing maintenance and management of their Azure platforms, SaaS and platform services as well, and also we work with a lot of partners doing resource augmentation for their teams internally for projects that they have, making sure that they've got the Azure skills to deliver the projects that they have in. So yeah, that's sort of who we are. In terms of like day to day and what we get involved in, our focus is on creating best-in-class cloud infrastructure and cloud platforms. So that starts right from the ground up. So looking at the design work, designing solutions and platforms that fit around our customers and their needs, advising on best practice and what they actually need to put in place to make sure that their platform's secure and stable. Once we've got that design in place, then we move on to actually deploying the infrastructure. So we do that through infrastructure as code and Azure DevOps CI/CD. So what that means is translating those designs into infrastructure as code templates. So using languages like Bicep, Terraform, PowerShell scripts, Bash scripts, things like that, to actually take that infrastructure and get it deployed in a programmatic, repeatable way. And also we're sort of expanding a little bit into AI and data analytics projects and customers. So expanding our knowledge of AI. And what we've seen recently is customers using things like text analytics and speech analytics services in Azure to create AI solutions to work with their existing data or new data for new projects that they're starting up at the moment to take advantage of those new features that we've got with AI as well. So yeah, that's sort of our day-to-day workload. So in terms of platform engineering, we'll just have a little brief overview of what that is specifically. So building and managing cloud platforms using code-based deployments. So what that means is using those infrastructure as code languages we mentioned, like Bicep and Terraform, to create scripts that reflect the infrastructure that we want to deploy to the platform. So instead of doing what we call ClickOps or going through the Azure portal, clicking each individual option, sort of typing in your names and your IP ranges and all that kind of stuff, configuring it through the Azure portal and the wizards in there, We can use templates and write templates to define that infrastructure and say exactly what we want on there. So in the screenshots here, you can see sort of some standard things like a storage count with a SKU selected there and a kind of storage v2. So things like that you'd have to select in the portal, we can define with parameters within the templates. So what it leaves you with is basically a template that can create your whole infrastructure in a repeatable, predictable way. And also if things are changing rapidly and someone's going in the portal and clicking around in there, making some changes that you need to revert quickly or that you don't want making to the platform, you've got that template that you can then redeploy, and straight away it's back to that sort of standard version that you've set out in your templates. So like I mentioned, the main sort of infrastructure as code for Azure, at least at the moment, is Bicep, which is Microsoft's own language. So that is basically a layer on top of Azure Resource Manager, which is sort of the API and the old JSON template method of deploying to Azure. So it's sort of Microsoft's backend. Bicep is a language on top of that. So it's basically you can create those templates and submit that deployment to Azure and get your infrastructure up there. There's also HashiCorp Terraform. So Terraform is a sort of cross-cloud, cross-platform infrastructure as code language. So it works across Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. It extends to on-prem things like VMware, Proxmox, I think Hyper-V as well. So basically lots of different capabilities for Terraform with the providers that you can use. So you have to declare your providers, which then says what resources you can interact with. But yeah, using the Azure provider, we can basically do the same thing we can do with Bicep and deploy those templates to Azure. So yeah, that's sort of a quick overview. Looking at specifically about Azure platforms and managed services, we've got a brief example here of a sort of typical design for a customer environment. So you can see all the networks there, all the different resources that connect into them. So things like storage accounts, app services, databases, all privately networked, connected into a central connectivity subscription and network there as well. And we've got things like Azure Virtual Desktop or AVD in there so that users can securely access those resources as well. So yeah, that's sort of a typical design of a platform that you might see. And thinking about managed services, some of the things we cover in that is sort of the monitoring and the management of the platform. So making sure we've got alerts set up and we've got the governance and guardrails in place, and to make sure that people can't just go into the platform and do whatever they want, sort of click around and cause havoc. Also, cost management is a big focus of managed services, and our managed services at least, making sure that costs are as predictable as they can be with cloud, making sure that we're monitoring the resources and making sure they're as efficient as possible, that they've got the right SKUs selected and there's not sort of wastage there. Also, we include things like a roadmap and recommendations. So we pull recommendations together from our own experience and our own knowledge of the Azure platform, but also using the tools that are built in, so things like Defender for Cloud and the Defender Secure Score and the policy compliance and policy recommendations there as well. So we can put that together into a bunch of recommendations and add that onto a roadmap for our customers as well, so that we've got a clear sort of list of items that need to be tackled, and that we're keeping a view of that. And then we sort of wrap that all up into regular reviews with our customers as well, going through the report that we generate with all of those different bits and pieces in. Making sure that we're staying in contact and sort of talking about the Azure environment and what's coming up, making sure the customer's aware of those recommendations as well. So yeah, that's sort of what we tackle with the managed services generally.
Yeah, just going to add to that, Adam. One of the things that we've started adding recently to our managed services, like a risk section as well, to highlight any risks that we see, anything that we've discussed, or anything that the specific areas that needs like attention, where we know that the risk. We've also mentioned it to the customer, and now we've actually got proper documentation of it, so it's easy to see and on focus on those kind of areas as well as updates to the platform, what's new in the platform as well. We just add those to the monthly reports as well. So
yeah, so moving on to sort of specifically about the learning and sort of cloud industry in general. Obviously, we're talking today about the presentation we did with Northcoders last week and the graduates there. So one of the topics we touched on was sort of certifications and sort of that being a sort of entry route into a career in cloud. So obviously there's a wide variety of different certifications, both within IT and within cloud. Like we've mentioned, we're Azure specialists with a strong focus on sort of the Microsoft tech stack. So for that, we've got things like Microsoft Learn, which is obviously Microsoft's own platform for all of their learning material and documentation. And then the Microsoft exams as well. So whether that's for Azure or other specialisms within the Microsoft stack. I think obviously at the intro you saw myself and Mitesh have got quite a few of those Microsoft exams, but you've got things like Azure Fundamentals, so like an introduction to Azure, getting familiar with the platform and sort of the components involved in that, or things like the Azure Administrator exam, which is more sort of your entry level technical exam to sort of get your sort of foot in the door and prove that you know how to work with Azure on a technical level. And then moving on to things like Azure Solutions Architect, which is what Microsoft deem their expert level exam, which is sort of a more in-depth technical exam going over sort of specific details of resources and architecting an Azure platform. Obviously, there's other specific exams. So there's a lot of networking and security exams from providers like Fortinet and CompTIA. HashiCorp, which we mentioned with Terraform, they've got their own exams for Terraform and proving that you can competently use that for either Azure specifically. I think is coming soon. There's not an Azure specific one yet. I think that exam's in beta at the moment, but there's other Terraform exams that cover generally how to use Terraform, proving that you're proficient in it. So yeah, things like that are really useful to prove that you've got that knowledge and prove that you can put it into practice, even not necessarily in a practical environment, but in sort of that education environment, and prove that you've got that knowledge. They're good for employers to see that you've got that basic understanding and show that you've been able to prove those skills as well, and that you're not just saying you've read through the Learn articles or watched some videos or something. It actually gives sort of a measurement of maybe where you're at in your career. I think it's important to say as well, it's good to put that alongside practical demonstrations of your skills as well, whether that's in a role that you've done, or perhaps in like demos or things that you've done in your own time and things like that, if you've not had an opportunity to get into a cloud role before. But things like that sort of cement that you've actually been able to apply those skills as well, not just pass an exam. Because as much as they are valuable and they're a good sort of indicator of where you're at, there are ways to cheat, ways to sort of circumvent the system, if you would. So it's good to provide a sort of a mix of both there as well.
Yeah, I think one thing we mentioned on the day when we did the talk to the students, like, as Adam said, it's great to pass these exams, but actually learn the subject. What I always say is build it, break it, fix it, teach someone else it is the best way to actually learn it. So when somebody actually asks you a question in an interview or on the job, you can actually understand what they're asking. You can actually give them the right answer rather than just say, "Oh, I don't remember that. I did it in an exam, but I didn't actually learn it." And it's really obvious when people have just passed an exam and they don't actually know the subject. So yeah, we'd recommend you take time actually doing some practical stuff and then showing that off as well.
Yeah, and I think with a lot of the exams, Microsoft even have a recommendation of a certain amount of time that you're meant to have had hands-on with the platform as well, whether that's in a role or sort of lab environments as well. I think that's as part of their recommendations for the exam as well. And I think that's where like the Azure free tier comes in as well, so you can actually get hands-on and start using some of those resources. So yeah, definitely good stuff to think about. So yeah, Mitesh is going to take us through a little bit of a demo on Microsoft.
Yeah, so we'll walk you through MS Learn, show you where all the exams are, where all the certifications are and all the training. But on this slide here is like there's a shortcut to it. So if you go in your browser to aka.ms/learn, you can get to the site. Or you can also, if you don't already have a Microsoft account, a Hotmail or an Outlook.com account, register for one of those and it'll assign all your learning training plans and everything to that account, and also your certifications. It will assign them to your Outlook.com, which means it stays with you and it's your own personal training platform, if you want. So yeah, you can browse all the different courses by product. So if you look at Azure, or Microsoft 365, for example, you can even look at it by role. So if you want to be an administrator or a developer, even, or AI developer, data analytics, look at the different roles, or sorry, data engineer. You could look at all the relevant certifications by that role and look at what's relevant for in terms of which courses are for that certification. And they can also just learn just by certification. So if I want to do Azure administrator, for example, which is AZ104, it gives me the whole list of all the courses that I should do to prepare me for that exam. Now, once you've done that, as I mentioned, go and do some practicing, go and build these environments. And also then on YouTube, there's some really good videos, which we'll link to later from John Saville, actually. And we've got a few, but there's lots of them out there. There's other things such as virtual training days as well. So if you search at virtual training days, you can also do a bunch of free courses and get sometimes free exams or 50% off exams as well. Those are really useful, but I'd recommend you do make sure you do the courses, learn the subjects and stuff before you do the training days, and then prepare for the exam that way. And also register for certain Microsoft events, like they do Ignite, Build, for example, and they have like weeks, like they had one last week. If you complete certain courses, you get to sit some of these exams for free. So yeah, there's lots of incentives and lots of different programs and websites that Microsoft have got themselves. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Another thing that we wanted to mention is some of the Microsoft partners, and you'll have the same for GCP, Google, and also AWS. So the partner programs for companies who are partners, they also need people who are certified in certain areas. So in terms of the Microsoft one, we've got the solutions partner for Azure infrastructure. Now, there are all other ones, like on the right-hand side, as you can see, you've got business application security, etc., etc. Each one of them will have their own specific exams that are really useful for that organization. So, for example, if you wanted to work in infrastructure, to do some of the stuff that we do and some of the stuff that Adam showed you, look at the certifications that we've got here, such as Azure Administrator, Network Engineer, and Azure Virtual Desktop. These ones are really valuable because they give the partner those points to allow them to stay in that program as well. So they've got to have a certain number of people pass these certifications. So if you're one of those people, you want to work in that industry for one of those types of partners, you want to look at what exams that partner needs, part of their Microsoft partner program, and work towards those, because those will be really, really valuable for you and for them.
Especially if you're looking to work at sort of smaller companies where, you know, you can be a really valuable employee to them if you've got quite a few of these Microsoft certifications. You know, they need those to keep their solutions badge and things like that. So if you're looking at smaller companies, then it can definitely be really valuable and, you know, something to shout about.
Definitely.
So on the subject of training, we've also got a couple of videos on our own YouTube channel. So yeah, we've got a training course, sort of Azure fundamentals training course. We've got a bit of Azure for students demo and training as well. So yeah, we've got quite a few videos on there that are useful, especially if you're getting started in cloud. So yeah, I'd say go and have a look over there, see if there's anything that interests you, and yeah, hopefully they're helpful for you.
Yeah, another one that you can see, I don't think you can see on this one, but I'll show it on screen later, is John Saville. So he has a lot of really good, very professional exam cram videos as well, and Azure updates every week. So and deep dives into various Azure technologies. So it's one that's definitely worth following as well. And of course, follow ours, definitely. So okay, and yeah, we did a little talk about LinkedIn. So Adam, you can take that away.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, another one of the things we touched on when we did the talk with Northcoders was, yes, there's the sort of technical side of things with the exams and all of that kind of stuff, but there's also the sort of people skills and networking that sort of comes with something like LinkedIn. So yeah, taking advantage of LinkedIn and sort of social platforms as well. So obviously LinkedIn is great for networking and staying in touch with people that you've either met or worked with. You know, connecting with people on LinkedIn and making sure that they can see what you're doing, you can see what they're doing, all that kind of stuff. But also, I think something that people don't always talk about is using it like a newsfeed as well. So obviously, there's a lot more people on there than just someone you might have worked with or someone you know from an event. There's lots of industry professionals, whether that's people that work directly at companies like Microsoft or community members. So yeah, I think it's just as important to follow and connect with people like that on LinkedIn to see what's going on in your industry, what other professionals are doing. A lot of the time you can pick up on things like new features or new products that are coming out as well from social posts and things like that. It sort of collates things rather than you having to necessarily go and look at all the different Microsoft blog articles and things like that. You might get sort of a useful summary from someone who's already tried it or been able to test it. So things like that are really useful. And then another thing is shout about what you're doing. So I think people really focus on putting their big achievements on LinkedIn. So it's great to do stuff like that. If you've passed an exam or started a new job or something like that, that's obviously important to put on there. But I think other things as well. So if you've solved a really tricky problem that week at work in your role, maybe it was quite technical, or maybe it was something that you're proud of. Sort of putting stuff like that out there as well is really useful, because it shows employers and also your industry peers what you're actually up to and what you're working on, and sort of what So again, it's building on top of those exams and things like that, and actually reinforcing that with showing your practical skills. And then as well, if something's maybe not gone as well, and you've had a challenge but you've not been able to fix it, whether that's doing a post and saying about what you tried, what you did with it, or asking people for help. That's why it's important to connect with those like professionals and people in your industry. Use it as a place to ask for help if you're not sure on something as well. So I think it's more than just like a networking platform. There's a lot of other things that you can use LinkedIn for. And I know the sort of a stereotype that there's a certain kind of posts on there, and it's not always so interesting. But I think if you follow the right people, if you connect with the right people and use it in the right way, it can be really beneficial for your own learning and your career as well. So yeah, definitely something to take advantage of.
I'd also add follow the companies that you're interested in as well. So if there's a bunch of companies you're interested, follow those. You can then see who works there, see what they're up to. And also the other thing which just come to mind from what Adam said is groups. The groups are a really good place for like discussions, or if you do have a problem or if someone else has got a problem, you could also help someone else as well. So groups are a really good way of finding specific groups, whether it's cybersecurity or a specific project or topic. Join those groups as well. They could be really useful.
Definitely. And I mean, personally, I'm part of the Bicep users group on LinkedIn, and I know that that's quite active on there as well. When there's a new version of Bicep or new features and stuff like that, people are quite actively posting about it. So yeah, definitely groups are a good shout, Mitesh. And that sort of leads us on quite nicely to community groups as well. So yeah, another great sort of resource that's out there to take advantage of is things like user groups and community meetups and community groups. So we've got a couple of examples of them on here. So some that we've attended, and we also sponsor as a company. So we sponsor the South Coast Summit and South Coast User Group, which are two of the ones that you can see on there. So two of the ones you can see on there, which is a Microsoft technology focused group. You've also got the Southern and London Microsoft Users Group, which is in the Walkie Talkie building with Telefonica Tech. So yeah, that's sort of Microsoft and Azure focused with sort of data analytics and things like that as well. There's also the Scottish Summit if you're sort of further up north. I know there's also, I think, a Yorkshire Azure user group and things like that as well. So it's, again, something
quite a lot.
Yeah, they're sort of all over the place. So I think across Europe and America as well, of course. So yeah, another really important part is finding those professionals and people that can not just maybe offer you a job, but connecting with these people that can teach you about the technology and people who've got that experience as well. And just connecting with like-minded people and being able to discuss these things and sort of talk out loud about it. As well, things like networking and talking to people about the technology that you work with is only going to help you in building sort of like presentation skills as well. So if you end up in a role where you're expected to do presentations to either internal teams or customers and things like that, sort of helps you build those skills up as well. So yeah, I think in-person meetups are sort of I think there was a time after COVID where they were sort of dying down a little bit, but I'd say they're back in full force now, Mitesh, wouldn't you?
Good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It should
so
be. Yeah.
definitely an important thing to look into as well.
Yep. And they're always looking for speakers as well, a lot of these user groups. So if you have learned something and you want to share it, feel free. There's always people that you can teach. Not everybody knows what you've learned. Some people really appreciate that. So it's a really good platform, I would call it a safe platform for you to go and practice your presentation skills as well. Again, you get seen, you'll get noticed on LinkedIn as well. This person's doing a talk, so it's a really good way to help build your career and your profile.
Yeah, and I think what you said there, Mitesh, as well about it'll be posted on LinkedIn and people see it and things like that. That's really showing how all these things sort of interlink. So you've got your certifications, you put that on your LinkedIn profile, you go to a meetup, you connect with someone, they see your profile on LinkedIn. It's all linked together. So I think it's about taking all of these things into account and putting them together to build your profile as a whole as well. Not just working on an exam or going to a meetup or something like that. You've got to put it all together and take advantage of it as a whole.
Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks Adam and Sarah for joining me. Follow us on LinkedIn. That's where we put most of our information. We'll also be posting about some of these events that we talked about, some of the events that we sponsor and that we also attend. It's worth just keeping in touch, and expand your own network as well. So thank you, Adam, and thanks to you, Sarah, as well for joining us and allowing us to speak with you.
Thank you so much for taking the time again to invite me to this session, and hopefully it does help someone out there.
Exactly, that's the point. So, and thanks very much, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, take care, everyone. Thanks a lot.